Hi, my name is Gibson, and I'm the co-owner and creator of the Personal Development School. This is your daily breakthrough video, and in this video I'm going to talk to you a little bit about how to know whether the fearful avoidant is emotionally attracted to you and looking to pursue something rather than just physically attracted. And before I dive into this, I just want to share sort of a disclaimer. There's a lot of information online about, how to manipulate somebody back into your life, or how to play games so that somebody who doesn't seem interested suddenly is interested. And I think that a lot of that can be really counterproductive, specifically for the reason that we can put on all these masks and facade and use these psychological techniques to reel somebody back into our lives. But if we are not communicating our true needs, setting our boundaries, really being vulnerable about who we are and what we desire, and showing up for those things and being consistent, then chances are you're going to get into a relationship dynamic where you either have to put up this same facade and play this role of this person that you are playing in order to bring somebody into your life, and then take off that mask, and then the power struggle phase suddenly comes on very hard and can be really challenging. Or you stay in that role and you never quite feel fulfilled in your authenticity and integrity in the relationship to yourself. And a lot of things come off of that, like a lot of pain points and struggles and inner identity crises, and there could just be lots of challenges. So my disclaimer is, if you are dealing with somebody in a relationship who's not showing up and who only seems physically attracted and doesn't seem romantically attracted, that's totally fine if you're on the same page. If you are in a space in your life where you don't want anything serious, or you just got out of a relationship, or you're going through some changes and really working on you, that's beautiful. That's amazing. But if you're the type of person who's literally looking for something serious, committed, you want somebody to be romantically and emotionally engaged, then from what you're about to take from this video, make sure you set really clear boundaries for yourself, okay? Nobody deserves to feel like they're uncertain and they're on, sort of funny ground with another person. And I know sometimes we can have feelings and you can have attraction, and all these things can be very seductive in how they pull you towards a person. But if those things that are pulling you towards a person who's not treating you right, then it's really important that you break that pattern by you treating yourself right, by not putting up with that outside of yourself, because you always make that first move. You either put up with it or you don't. And either act of that is an act of self-respect and self-love, or an act of betrayal to relationship, to self. And a lot of things come out of that. And what I find clearly, very, very, very clearly as a pattern, is the better we treat ourselves, the kinder we are to ourselves, the more we take care of our needs, our boundaries, the more we show up consistently for ourselves, the healthier people we feel attracted to, the healthier people we attract into our lives, and also the more fulfilling and rewarding relationships are. And usually the more people are willing to show up, and because they're interested in you because you're treating yourself kindly and respectfully. And at a subconscious level, there's so much information, that over 1 billion bits per second of information that the subconscious picks up on, compared to the conscious mind's 30 to 40 bits per second. So massive, massive difference. And all of these little things and the way that we have the relationship to ourselves definitely has a major impact on determining the relationships we have outside of ourselves. So I just wanted to say that. And I did a dismissive avoidant video as well. And I actually very, very much think that fearful avoidance, dismissive avoidance, anxious, preoccupied individuals all have such wonderful people in these attachment styles. And there's just different wounds and traumas that can prevent them from showing up at the fullest expression of their highest potential. So it's nothing against any styles whatsoever. I was a fearful avoidant personally. But what I think is really important to recognize is just, this video, I'm going to tell you about how to tell if a fearful avoidant is interested in you, but it's a lot more about, don't take that information and if the person's not, then beat around the bush and allow yourself to stay in something where somebody isn't showing up. It's a lot more about, is the person showing up at the end of the day? That's the meat of this message. So I will go into it. I'll give you some signs that a fearful avoidant is truly interested. And if you find that a person isn't interested, or they're not willing to do the work to promote a healthy, thriving relationship, then it's really important that you do that work in relationship to self by setting a boundary and allowing yourself to remove yourself from that situation if need be, and then explore you and your needs and your intentions and desires, and then maybe bring those things into healthier dynamics long term. So as I dive into this, one thing I want to share is we are still running our With You promotion. It's for 25% off of membership bundles. So it's access to all of our this month it'll be 32 courses. And I think it's like close to 140 previously recorded webinars on all sorts of different stuff. So there's so much content. There's workbooks that come with every course. It will save you so much time and energy to do the work that way than here on the channel. I try to put as much content as I can, but I can only ever make 10 to 15 minute videos, and the courses are super in depth, right to the point, and they come with all the exercises you need, as well as a really beautiful, wonderful community of people. So, and like all these bonus features in there and stuff, which is cool. And the 4 live webinars I do every single week. So, feel free to join there. I'll put a coupon code in the description box below and on this video. So, how can you know if the fearful avoidant is truly interested? Well, number one, you will see that they are really present when they are with you in the dating phase of a relationship, but also when they're outside of that dynamic. So fearful avoidants, when they're really interested in somebody, they kind of access their anxious side a little bit more than their avoidant side. They usually don't sit very much in the middle. So if they're really interested, they start to, reach out more. They start to be more consistent in their communication. Somebody who's not that interested as a fearful avoidant, you might see them be very present because they tend to have that sort of skill or superpower. You might see that they are very present when they're with you, but then they're very not present when they're not face to face with you, okay? Fearful avoidants can be like a little bit of out of sight, out of mind people, because they tend to fully immerse themselves in everything right in front of them, which is beautiful, but then it has the drawbacks that, if something's not right in front of them, they can feel a little bit disconnected from that. So that's one thing. Number two, on a sort of higher level, you will absolutely see that the fearful avoidant is really present. If a fearful avoidant is not present, they're probably very not interested. They're probably hoping to get out of the situation, looking to escape, something like that. Remember, if you're having this experience with an FA, it doesn't mean this is about you, right? This can be that they are shut down because of some kind of trust wound or a trigger. It can be that your subconscious programs, so much of what attraction is based on, your subconscious programs don't line up with their core wounds. There can be so many features that aren't about, taking this personally if you're seeing some of these things, okay? Another really big thing that you'll see is that the fearful avoidant keeps trying to create emotional closeness. You'll see that they try to peel the layers back off of situations when they're very interested. So they'll ask sort of penetrating questions, try to get to the root of things. They'll want to know everything about you, all the details. You'll see their excitement and sort of bubbliness when they're around you. They'll be very on and tuned in and there. And it won't just be in a present way calmly, but you'll usually see sort of the outpour of excitement. Fearful avoidants tend to be very expressive people. They are quite expressive with their emotions, with their feelings, and quite expressive with sort of their energy and their presence and what they sort of bring to the table. So that's another really big one. Another thing you'll see is that fearful avoidants, when they're very interested and invested, they manage the relationship. So they manage how long it'll be before you see each other next. They manage the time. And fearful avoidants can be quite hypervigilant about this, honestly. They can sort of be in a dynamic where they are always trying to make sure the connection is maintained and healthy and good. And so you'll see that progress through the dating stages of a relationship. It isn't until the honeymoon phase of a relationship that a fearful avoidant tends to start getting kind of confusing. Because in the honeymoon phase of a relationship, sometimes they can get triggered because there's this commitment, there's this investment. And then the fearful avoidant is the only insecure attachment style that sort of immediately puts their other foot in the power struggle phase while being in the honeymoon phase of a relationship. I'm going to make a full series about attachment styles at a high level in each stage of a relationship and how to sort of notice and navigate the behavioral patterns in there, because I've had a lot of requests for that as well. I do have a full advanced attachment style course for each attachment style, and it goes through the 6 stages of each relationship in depth, and it goes through and talks about literally in depth, like what your rites of passage are, the problems, the amount of time you expect to see each other, the expectations of each attachment style in terms of communication, and all these different layers of expectation we carry based on what our attachment style is. And it's so important to know this about other people's attachment styles because, for example, like a dismissive avoidant in the dating phase, they are like really interested if they're wanting to see you twice a week. And, you know, an anxious preoccupied, they, in the dating phase, if they're really interested, they want to see you every day. So it's really easy for an anxious to be like, you only want to see me twice a week. Wow, you must not be that interested, because they perceive and project expectations through their filter of reality, not necessarily understanding somebody else's. So that's sort of a side note. Fearful avoidance, they generally want to see somebody 2 to 4 times a week in the dating phase. But stay tuned, and I will put that in the next set of videos. So the last thing I would say as well is that fearful avoidance, they will put a lot of time and energy into the relationship. Fearful avoidance tend to, when they do things, do them like not very half-heartedly. Fearful avoidance can be sort of all or nothing people. And that can be actually sort of a wound of dichotomous thinking, or all or nothing thinking, which is a form of cognitive distortion to a certain degree that often develops out of trauma. But because that can be pretty prevalent in the fearful avoidant themselves in terms of their thinking patterns and the way that they're dispersed, what you'll see is that fearful avoidants tend to be all or nothing people. They sort of have like all of themselves invested into things, and they're super, you know, right there and present and all of that. And you'll usually only see the fearful avoidant deactivating if they feel really hurt, wounded, like they can't trust, or if they're starting to feel disconnected and there's been like a large gap in time or space, or if they're feeling hyper vigilant for a long time and then they get exhausted from that, they sort of retreat into their shell a little bit as well. But outside of those things, like if there's a conflict or a wound touched, or if they're just exhaustedly retreating, then you won't see the fearful avoidant being too much in their deactivating selves. Very small levels, if it is there. So that's it for now. I'm going to do a whole bunch of content about the attachment styles in each of the 6 stages of relationships, and really touch on, you know, how they show up in each of those stages. I'll do a video for each of those stages for each of the attachment styles. But I hope this was helpful. Thank you so much for watching, for being here. Please like, share, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next video.